How's it going, everyone? My name is Michael SK, and welcome back to Umineko When They Cry, Episode 5. And we are following Erica as she sort of reviews, I guess, recent events. And that's about it. You know, that's pretty much where we're at right now, because she got totally dunked on in the last two videos by a mix of Battler, a mix of the witches, you know, so she needs a redemption arc of some sort here. But also, I do see this kind of going in the direction of Erica and her, you know, detective role is probably going to be the downfall of her, distract us, and we're going to walk away with yet another, you know, everybody is dead on the island, and what have we learned? The family conference last night was held with the adult relatives and Battler. And partway through, the servants had arrived to serve tea.
手紙が現れた瞬間の全員の立ち位置を確認しましょうか。どうなってましたっけ？
近景、謹んで申し上げる。親族会議以前に、エリカ、ジョージ、ジェシカ、マリア、南條、ゴーダ、熊沢は屋敷より退出し、ゲストハウスへ移動したものなり。
Honestly, listing everybody out, a fair amount of people. Okay, so 7 people.
近景、謹んで申し上げる。残りはクラウス、夏日、源氏の3人のみが2階廊下におり、それ以外の全員は食堂におりしこと申し上げ。
That does leave us with a
親族会議に先んじて全て施錠されていたため、それ以外の人間は屋敷に入ることができません。
It does leave us with a really interesting situation, because in a way it is a closed room. The whole mansion was a closed room when you think about it. So, who the hell left that letter?
おやおや、それでは屋敷内の誰にも食堂の扉をノックして手紙を置くことはできないということになりますね。
Unless, again, what we were shown, what we have been perceiving is not necessarily correct with Nazi.
そうなります。その人物こそが手紙を記した魔女、ベアトリーチェである、との魔女側の主張でしょう。
バカバカしい、くだらないトリックです。手紙が24時の瞬間に置かれた保証はありません。それ以前にもう置かれていたと考えるのが常識的です。
手紙が発見されるほんの数分前にシャノンとカノンを給仕に呼んでいます。2人を迎え入れる際、廊下に手紙などの不審物が一切なかったことを複数が確認しています。
100万人いなかったクラウス、夏日、源氏のうちの誰かがその直後に隙を見て手紙を置いただけのことでしょう。いえいえ、ゲストハウスに行ったはずの人物でも可能です。屋敷は施錠され、外部の人間は入れなかったそうですが、ゲストハウスに戻ったふりをして屋敷内にこっそりと隠れていた人間がいたなら、その人物が手紙を置いたとしても何ら問題はありません。
I mean, there were people that were awake whenever we came back. Erica was talking to Goda.
近景、青き真実。
となると、問題はノックです。手紙と違い、ノックの瞬間にその場に存在しなくてはなりません。
なるほど、それこそが魔女という名のいないはずの人物が存在する証拠だと？実にバカバカしいにも程があります。その程度でこのフルドエリカが屈服するとでも？まずノックが確かに食堂の扉を叩いたものなのか疑えます。例えばですが、屋敷の構造上2階の特定の柱を叩くと音が柱を伝わり、食堂の人間はあたかも扉をノックされたかのように誤認してしまうとか、あるいは偶然何かの音をノックと聞き間違え同様に誤認してしまうとか、あるいはノック音を録音したテープがこっそり再生されていて、それがちょうどあのタイミングで聞こえるように細工されていたのかもしれない。
I actually do think there's a lot of different ways that this whole situation could have played out instead of there actually being somebody on the other side of the door. kind of like something like a tape, something that was set up, or a noise that transmitted through the building somehow, because that is a true thing. You know, a noise can sound like it came from one direction, but it came from another because of how it travels, how sound waves and vibrations travel.
いずれにせよ扉の向こうに誰もいなくてもいくらでも考えられます。いかがです、我が主、我が推理。
だそうだけどいかが？
ベルンの可愛いコマが精一杯頑張って考えた青き真実みたいだから気前よく赤き真実をサービスしちゃおっかしら。
Oh, perfect. Exactly what I wanted.
まずは手紙からいこうかしら。24時の大時計の鐘の時に鳴ったノック、そして扉を開けたらそこに置かれていた片翼のわしの封筒の手紙。客間にいなかった人間がこっそりと廊下に置いていったのだろうという想像は実に王道よね。クラウス、夏日、源氏の3人はその手紙に触れてさえいない。
Okay, so we're beginning to knock down the amount of people that actually could have participated in this. Now, when it comes to the knocking sound, I mean, they could have had a part in that. Hard to say. But with the letter, it's either somebody that, was in that dining room or somebody that supposedly went to the guest house.
へえ、じゃあシャノン・カノンが救助に訪れて扉を閉じる瞬間に最後に食堂に入った最後尾の人間は誰？例えばカノンとか。最後尾のカノンが扉を閉めるときにこっそりポトリと手紙を落とせば簡単じゃない？
食堂の全員の誰も。いえ、もっとシンプルな言い方をするわ。24時の時点で屋敷内にいた誰一人あの手紙を廊下に置いた者はいないわ。
Okay, now we're really limiting it here. So it has to be one of the 7 that went to the guest house, right?
触れた者はいない。
そりゃそうでしょう。彼らは拾って触れたわ。触れてないとまでは言えるわけない。
なるほど。じゃあこういう解釈だわ。24時の時点で屋敷外に存在した何者かがあらかじめ手紙を廊下以外の場所に置いたのよ。そして何らかの方法でそれが移動して最終的に廊下に
I like this idea here. No
仮
red.
の想像ですが、例えば使用人たちが押してきたお茶の道具を積んだ配膳車の下部の裏側に貼り付けられていたとか、それは時間が経てば剥がれてしまうような簡単な接着、それはやがて剥がれ落ちて存在しないはずの魔女が置いていった手紙となる。つまり時間差で手紙が現れるようにすることで真の差出人がその時刻にアリバイを作ろうとする古典的トリックです。
And where have we seen a trick like that, where something shows up in such a way that is very mysterious?
金形、青き真実。
ちょうど都合よく食堂の扉の前に落ちたのは犯人にとって幸運だっただけということ。下手をすればそこは厨房か廊下か、はたまた食堂の中だったかもしれません。はあ、グッと食堂の中ならば随分と素敵ですね。全員の監視の中、突然床に手紙が現れる。食堂という密室に忽然とその場の誰も触れていないという赤を維持したまま。
お見事です。配膳車の下部に手紙を貼り付ける行為なら誰が犯人でも可能です。手紙についてはまずね。でもそれと同じ論法がノックについても通用するかしら。じゃあもう一度同じやり取りをしようかしら。
どうぞ。
クラウス、夏日、源氏の3人はノックをしていない。
Okay.
これは扉だけはノックしていないという限定的な意味じゃないわよ。
This isn't limited. Wait, this isn't the limited meaning of them knocking on the door. Okay.
音が伝わる柱だろうと。
Okay, so they just straight up were not involved.
そのノック音を生み出したことは断じてないという意味。無論直接的にも間接的にも意図的にも偶発的にも無意識的にもね。
すでにくさびを打ってるけど繰り返すわ。クラウス、夏日、源氏たち3人以外の誰かがノック、あるいはノックと誤認させる音を発生させたのかもしれない。
近家謹んで申し上げ奉る。24時の時点で2階廊下にいたクラウス、夏日、源氏の3人と食堂にいた全員以外の一切の人間は屋敷内に存在しなかった旨申し上げ。
近家謹んで申し上げる。クラウス、夏日、源氏の3人に加え食堂の全員もまたノックしていないこと申し上げる。このノックとはノック音を生み出す直接的、間接的、意図的、無意識的、偶発的な全てを含めるものなり。
Okay, again, we're kind of crossing off the people that were here in the mansion. A direct knock refers to someone literally hitting a door to make a knocking sound. An intentional knock refers to someone creating a fake knocking sound with intent to make it appear that someone knocked. An unintentional knock refers to someone unintentionally creating a fake knocking sound. A coincidental knock refers to some kind of coincidence creating a fake knocking sound.
つまり屋敷にいた人物全員がノック音の発生源とはなり得ないという意味です。そしてこの全員とは誰も把握していない観測されていない人物であったとしても含みます。
Basically, anybody, whether we saw them or not in the mansion. Anyone who was in the mansion also included any unknown person X who was secretly hiding in the mansion. Therefore, this literally meant that it was impossible for anyone inside the mansion to knock with no wordplay allowed.
なるほど。
Could it have been somebody on the outside, though?
どうひっくり返そうとも、いわゆるゲストハウス組にしかノックオンの生成は不可能というわけですね。例えば私、この古田エリカがカセットテープにノックオンを録音し、それをどこかにこっそり仕掛け、ちょうど24時頃に再生されるような仕掛けを施したなら、もちろん24時の時点では屋敷にはいないわけです。これなら何も問題ないじゃないですか。
問題ないです。しかし扉の前に手紙があればこそノックがその存在を教えるきっかけとなりますが、もし厨房などに手紙が落下していたらノックは手紙の存在を教えるものにはならなかったように思います。
If the trick in Erica's theory about the letter being stuck to the serving cart was accurate, then the location that the letter fell was a matter of luck. Because it had fortunately fallen near the door, the people in the dining hall noticed it due to the knock. However, if the location it fell was a matter of chance, it might have landed in the far-off kitchen, or remained stuck even after they entered. If that had happened, well, the knock would have been ignored as though they had just imagined it. In other words, the knock by itself wouldn't transmit any message at all. It only made it appear as though someone had been there, because it was paired with the letter. In that case, the random location the letter fell to off the bottom of the serving cart couldn't be connected with the knock. For the letter to be found thanks to the knock, it would have to be reliably positioned on the other side of the door. However, it was announced in red that no one in the mansion placed the letter in the hallway.
この廊下に置いたという赤ももっと細かく言い直すわ。
Yeah, the fact that we're getting into such specifics will absolutely, 100% is going to throw me off, guys. I'm going to get confused and I'm going to completely miss something, or I'm going to misunderstand something in a way where, I'm going to bring up a theory later, but hey, it's already been dashed in red.
屋敷内の誰一人手紙を廊下に置いた者はいない。それは直接的、間接的、意図的、偶発的、無意識的、すべての概念だよ。
Okay, so either purposely placing the letter in any such way, either meaningful or accidentally, or they didn't mean to place the letter or had no idea of it. Basically, absolutely no contact with it whatsoever.
例えば、配膳車に停車すると手紙が落ちるという仕掛けがあったと仮定する。これならば、食堂の扉でノックするために一度停車するだろうことが事前に予見できるから、うまいこと扉の前に 手紙を落とせるように思えるかもしれない。しかしこれもダメなのよ。
Because it's unintentional and they had no idea of it.
配膳車を停車させる
Maybe.
ことが廊下に手紙を置くという行為を間接的に示してる。よってこれでは台車を押していたシャノンとカノンが間接的に無意識に置いたことになってしまう。だからこれもダメ。さらに言うと、時間が経てば剥がれて落ちる仕掛けもそこまで配膳車を押した人間によって偶発的に無意識に置いたことになってしまう。もちろんこれもダメ。
副賞要求24時の時点で屋敷以外に存在するのはエリカ、ジョージ、ジェシカ、マリア、南條、ゴーダ、熊沢のみである。
What if someone in the dining hall didn't exist in the mansion right at midnight? For example, what if they had slipped out a window just before? With this wordplay, it might be possible to get around the red truth.
副賞要求？気前よく赤をサービスしてるからってちょっと欲張りすぎじゃない？私ベアトみたいにバカじゃないから相手の求める副賞にペラペラ答えたりなんかしないわよ。
今度お風呂でマシュマロとコンペイトーのスクラブで全身マッサージしてあげるわ。
Oh shit, this is all Battler had to do. Gee, he just had to bribe.
生皮はげるくらいにゴリゴリと。
絶対よ、約束だからね、ジュルリ。じゃあいいわ、サービスしちゃう。副賞要求に答えるわ。24時の時点で屋敷以外に存在するのはエリカ、ジョージ、ジェシカ、マリア、南條、ゴーダ、熊沢のみである。
Okay, well, there we go. At specifically midnight, not really accounting for any other time, around midnight, so we got to keep that one in mind. Only those individuals were outside the mansion. That really does mean that at midnight, somebody inside, there was that knock. None of them participated in it. Again, could a knocking sound have been done by those outside? And we got to remember Mystery Person X here, who I still don't really think exists, but, you know, there's a lot of weird stuff going on here. In other words, no matter how much they struggled, those 8 people, including Erica, could not have existed inside the Wait, did I miscount? Could not have existed inside the mansion, much less in front of the door. And at the same time, no matter how much they struggled, those inside the mansion could not have existed outside the mansion.
なら配膳車ではなく廊下の天井に手紙を貼り付けてあったのかもしれません。廊下の天井は案外高いから堂々と貼り付けてあっても誰も気づかないかもしれない。これなら廊下に落ちるのは確定的。そしてそれを屋敷外の人物が行ったなら赤も潜れる。ぐっと私。
金慶謹んで申し上げる。廊下天井に手紙が存在したことはなきなりや。
Okay, well, that dashes that.
金慶謹んで申し上げる。配膳車に手紙が触れたことはなきと知りたまえ。
Okay, so absolutely no, malicious or accidental intent with that cart, like absolutely nothing to do with that cart. I really wish we got that red text earlier because I feel like that would save us some time.
知らないです、そんなこと。とにかく屋敷以外の人間が何かのトリックであそこに手紙を置いてみせたんです。あの手紙とノックでベアトリーチェを存在させようなどという目論みはこのフルドエリカには断じて通用しません。
金慶謹んで申し上げる。屋敷以外の全員は親族会議開始後屋敷内にて何を行うことも不可能なり。
Okay, so no influence necessarily, but that could still mean that something, well, okay, so that's like saying, okay, if I press this button on the outside of the mansion, something on the inside will occur.
じゃあ親族会議以前に屋敷以外の何者かが何らかの仕掛けを施したのよ。天井と配膳車以外でです。
金慶青き真実無効なりや。
Well, yeah, because we just got Red Truth telling us that that's not possible.
なんでですか。それしかないでしょ。天井と配膳車以外の何かに屋敷以外の誰かが何か仕掛けをしたのよ。
金慶その何かを特定もしくは仮定せぬ限り 青き真実とは認められぬものなり。
金慶、手紙についてのエリカ教の青き真実は全て失われたものなり。
Wow.
全て失われたですって？言い方にもう少し気を使ってください。使えない家具の皆さん、その仕掛けを思いつきさえすれば即座にチェックメイトなんです。それを全て失われた？この探偵フルドエリカによくもそんな口を。
Erica's face twisted. These words that seemed to deny Erica. No, Erica's reasoning were the worst form of torture and humiliation for her.
ミス・エリカ、手紙の謎は一度保留してはいかがです。ノックの推理、屋敷以外の何者かがカセットテープなどで聞かせたとする青きくさびは未だに有効です。
Because there's still something, well, I don't know. There's no influence, sure, but that's with the letter, right?
音が可能なら手紙もまた不可能ではないはず。
As Erica made to grab and pull Gertrude's hair, Delanor stopped her with those words.
そうです。ノックについては私の青き真実、全てを否定されてなんていません。我が主、手紙の謎は必ずや解いてみせます。お時間の猶予をお許しください。しかしノックの謎については確かにここに屋敷以外の人物がカセットテープなどでノック音を聞かせる仕掛けを施したとする青きくさびでうがちました。
本当に可愛い子ね、ベルンのコマは。本当にけなげだわ。とりあえず2つの謎のうち1つは高3だけど、1つは解けたからお許しをって叫んでる。どうする？許してあげる？
そうね、私の駒の分際で降参なんて恥さらし、一つは解いてみせたのなら今回は多めに見てあげようかしら。
我が主。
When Bernka still said that she'd let it slide, Erica couldn't hide her relief.
じゃあお仕置きだわ、エリカちゃん。すべての人物はノック音を誤認することはない。
Okay, so it was a knocking sound of some sort, but it's not like a different sound that people are mistaking to be a knocking sound, right?
へえ、
Is that what that means?
何それ。
ノック音を誤認しないということはつまり、
Here we go.
ノック音によく似た他の音をノック音と勘違いしたりはしないということよ。
Okay, but that still means that somebody could have knocked on a different wall that somehow reverberated to that direction of the door.
柱を叩くとノックに似た音がするなんてのもアウト。
Okay, but we're not hitting it with a sound that is similar to a knocking sound. We're literally knocking on something that then reverberates to it. Is that still okay?
ノック音をカセットテープに録音したとしても、それはもはやノック音を録音したテープの音であってノック音ではない。
Okay, so it's not a tape.
だからこれもアウト。つまり実際にあの扉を叩いたノック音を全員は正確に識別し、
Okay, but if she could just say in red that the door was knocked on,
絶対に聞き間違いないということよ。
but I think that would contradict some things.
あの扉を直接叩く以外のあらゆる音をノックと誤解することは絶対にありえないということ。
そんな。でもそれじゃあの24時の鐘の音の時、扉を叩ける人物が存在しないことになるじゃありませんか。
No, there's something else going on here that's being completely left out. I have a feeling about it. There has to be something else going on here.
そうよ、存在しないわよ。だって黄金の魔女ベアトリーチェが叩いたんだもの。
つまりあの扉を叩く以外ごまかしようはないってことね。ならこういうのはどう？扉をノックしてくれる何かの仕掛けとか、
Okay.
自動のドアノッカーみたいな仕掛けがあって、それによって手を触れずにノックすることができたとか。
ノックは人が手で扉を叩くものよ。
仕掛けで叩いたなんて認めないわ。
You know, it was a good idea. I like the creativity on that one.
24時の鐘の時にノックが聞こえたわ。その時食堂の人物全員が確かにそれを聞いたわ。そして彼らは誰もノック音を誤認しない。クラウス、夏日、源氏の3人はノックに関わっていない。それ以外の人物は誰も屋敷内に存在もしない。そしてノックは直接扉の前に立ち、手で扉を叩く行為を指す。ねえベル、どう？私の赤は。まだ第一の晩以前なのになかなかシンプルで遊びがいがあるでしょ。黄金の魔女はノックの音とともに静かに降臨。
I mean, this is actually some pretty deep stuff now that we actually have some engaging players here. And it's really different, but also similar to things that we've, seen before.
面白いわ。本当に面白いわ、ラムダ。こうでなくっちゃ。ああ、面白い。
The two witches doubled over laughing, as though this was the most fun thing in the world.
若主、ご安心よ。その程度の赤、我が灰色の脳細胞は時間さえ与えられれば必ずや答えを導き出してみせます。
あらそう、ありがとう。そして失望だわ、エリカ。退屈だわ、エリカ。この私の駒にして分身のあなたにもお手上げなんて本当に情けなくて笑えるわ。
Ouch.
わからないならいつまでも沈黙しててちょうだい。そして分かった時だけ口を開いてちょうだい。あんたなんて所詮は駒。いてもいなくても私がゲームを進めるには支障がないのだから。特に推理が思いつかないならおとなしく駒置き場にでも戻って埃をかぶっててちょうだい。使えない駒は記憶に留めるのも苦痛だわ。
Wow.
ベルンは忘れっぽいからね。あんたもうちょっと頑張らないとベルンに忘れられちゃうわよ。忘却の駒置き場で永遠に埃にまみれながら決して来ぬ出番を待つのってとっても辛いと思うけれど。
ご安心よ、大ラムダデルタ教、そして我が主。必ずやお気に入りいただくことができるよう二度と失望させぬ活躍を約束いたします。
あら、さすがは私の分身ね。なら本当に頑張ってね。あまり活躍がないと私あなたのこと忘れちゃうかもしれないんだから。
As the two witches giggled, they continued discussing the letter and the knock. There was no room for Erica to step in. If she contented herself with that, she would literally have no place to go, and would be buried in an eternal oblivion. Erica endured this with a hideous expression, looking with shame at the back of the master who ignored her. And with both fists clenched, she thought frantically in search of some kind of breakthrough. I am the detective. I am Furuto Erica. I am the piece and double and servant of the great Lady Burncastil. I'll definitely make her satisfied. Satisfied. Definitely. Ushiromiya battler, how dare you humiliate me so? And as she stood there, ignored by the witches and shrouded in darkness, it looked like someone had told her to go stand all alone in the hallway. Or in the corner, with the hat on, and facing the hall, or the corner of the hallway. In the dark. Alright. Back to the game. Back to it as, I guess we're approaching the second twilight. We still have no idea where Kraus is. With the crime in the early morning, we'd completely forgotten about breakfast. So now we had our first meal of the day at a time that could never be called breakfast time. Even Goda-san's wonderful meal, which had supposedly been in the works since yesterday, provided no comfort. The several empty seats quietly burdened us with a pain-filled sadness. Then in the middle of this meal that felt like a visual, Erica suddenly stood up. Everyone focused on her to see what was the matter. Her expression was somewhere between relief and insanity, as though she had made some groundbreaking and strange discovery.
おい、どうした？大丈夫か？
わかりました。わかりました。私にわからないとお思いですか？ええ、わかりましたもん。そんなバカなことあるわけがない。
With a hideous expression covered in cold sweat, Erica glared and lashed out at Battler.
分かったって何が？
あなたが3階の書斎から飛び降りられるわけなんかないじゃないですか。私たちは誰一人あんたが飛び降り中庭に着地したところなんて見てないんですから。
I'm pretty sure there were a few people that really saw it happen, like frame by frame and everything.
あなたは中庭からはしごをかけて3階の窓にルドルフさんが登るのを見ていた時、その外壁の構造をよく観察し、雨どいなどをうまく伝えば3階の窓から中庭に降りることは不可能じゃないと気づいたんです。あなたは飛び降りてなんかいない。雨どいなどを伝え、みっともなく外壁を這い降りたんです。どうです？私の青き真実は。
反論って？
反論はない。ならば私の真実は有効ですね。ほら見たことか。
Oh man, she really is starting to lose it here
か
though.
っこつけて飛び降りたように見えたのは全て幻想。あんたはかっこつけて飛び出し雨どいにしがみついただけなんです。
I mean, even if he did do that, Kinzo would also have the capability of doing that. However, at the end of the day, because we really are getting a little off topic here, Kinzo does not exist anymore. He was never in that room, the window never opened, and nobody jumped out that window except for Battler.
あの時の論点は、じい様が書斎を脱出可能だったかどうか、そしてじい様は窓から抜け出すことも可能だった。俺はそれを証明しただけだぞ。飛び降りようが這い降りようが、それは変わらねえはずだがな。
はぐらかさないでください。
I think the only one changing the subject here is you.
人間風情が3階から飛び降りられるはずがないんです。それ見たことか。それ見たことか。いかがです？我が主、我が。
お前疲れてんのか？飯くらい落ち着いて食えよ。
Yeah, she's losing the plot here. When he escaped to the courtyard through the window, Battler really did use the rain gutter to crawl down the wall, just like Erica said. His hand had slipped halfway and he had fallen from a considerable height, but he had managed to land on his feet. No one had witnessed this, but most likely everyone in the dining hall, like now except Erica, had realized that something like this had happened. Since the very beginning, no one had believed that he had jumped down from the third floor window, even if they hadn't witnessed that directly, so they had no clue what Erica was complaining about all of a sudden, and started to whisper, staring at her with cold eyes and dubious faces.
反論できないでしょ。あなたの飛び降りは否定された。私の真実が勝ったんです。私の青き真実は有効です。我が主、それをどうかお認めください。私は無能ではありません。必ずやこのようにご期待に応えてみせますから、どうかお見捨てにならないでください。我が主。
Facing someone that might have been somewhere beyond the ceiling, Erica spread her arms and yelled. Then, as if an answer, a massive lightning bolt landed very close by. It was an incredible sound. They could even feel the earth shake. I gotta say, like, when a sound is, like, loud enough, just, like, a sound, like, not something being struck, but, like, a sound being loud enough, now you feel that shit. At the same time as that sound, Erica went limp and fell into her seat, like a puppet who had just had all its strings cut. Then, as the sound of wind and rain slowly filled the room once again, Erica slowly opened her eyes as though recovering from a bout of dizziness. Now she got rebooted. Then she continued eating in silence as though nothing had happened, as if she had been acting normally the whole time. Didn't Erica just stand up suddenly and yell something strange at someone? Automatically enough to make one doubt their eyes, Erica continued eating quietly as though everything was perfectly normal. When they saw how ordinary she looked, everyone convinced themselves that they were totally worn out, and that they must have And that they must have just seen some illusion of Erica suddenly yelling. Yeah, it's totally that. So Erica's sudden transfiguration of a few seconds ago was treated as a daydream and faded out of everyone's memories. Erica quietly poked at her salad and muttered in a voice that no one could hear.
ありがとうございます。大ベルンカステル卿。我こそはフルタエリカ。我が主の駒にして分身。必ずやあなたのために最高の物語を献上してご覧に入れます。
そうそう、やっぱりナイフとフォークって食器として原始的ですよね。
The fuck are you talking about now?
お箸が一番です。サラダを最も食べやすいのはお箸だとは思いませんかね、皆さん。
What is she talking about? That's our chapter? What the hell was that? Oh, whatever. That was weird. I don't even think weird is a proper enough word to describe whatever the hell that was. I don't even know what the fuck that chapter name is supposed to be. I know I'm not really supposed to be pointing those out, but I mean, come on.
午前3時にバトラさんがゲストハウスに戻られて、その後30分くらいで皆さんも解散されたんですね。
そうよ。いい加減眠くなってきて、一眠りしてから仕切り直そうってことになったのよ。
To smoke out the murderer of the first Twilight, Erica closely questioned everyone involved to check their alibis and evidence. To confirm these, she went around the mansion with them, and when needed, took several trips out to the guest house through all the rain. Her vitality was impressive. Though she was an uninvited guest, everyone had long since stopped feeling anything strange about the way that she played the detective. Well, yeah. Again, this is just a different rendition of the story being told by others.
エリカも着実に基礎を固めているようですな。
無駄なことよ。アリバイがあろうとなかろうと、わらわたちの存在を否定することなどできぬわ。金蔵は窓より逃れ、今や六軒島の霞よ。決して捉えることも否定することもできぬ。さしずめチェス盤の裏側にでも逃げ込んだとでも言えばいいのかしら。
その場合はしまい込んだというのが適当でしょうな。
そういえば例の第一の番の死体、同じくしまい込んだのであったな。ええ、異界と人間界の狭間の私の暗黒にしまってあるわ。あの探偵気取りに見つけられることはあるまいな。当然よ。人間には絶対不可能だわ。確認する？念のためな。そしてわらわたちも今後のベルンカステル教の狙いを今一度読み直す必要があろう。
敵を知れば百戦も危うからずですな。
真に知れば百戦も戦わずに勝てるわ。
いやいや、まったく。
Gap opened up a large hole in the sky and had it swallow all of them up. She invited Beato and Renove to the gap between worlds where she had hidden the corpses. And that place was nowhere in this world, and existed at no time of this world. In other words, it truly and literally was a place not of this world. In this place, questions such as, where is this and what time is it, have no meaning. Every single place led to here, but no place could be reached from here. Furthermore, all times connected to this place, but no time could be passed to from here. In short, this place was just what they said it was, the underside of the chessboard. I actually kind of like that. No, perhaps it would be most appropriate to call this the captured pile, where pieces that have left the game go. Which also works. Then through the pitch-black world, a glow like a faint spotlight shone, and 5 corpses came into view. The 5 pitiful corpses with their necks sliced open had been arranged neatly. Their eyelids were shut and their hands joined. Apparently even Gap had respect for the dead.
おや、今回のゲームの第一の番の犠牲者は
5人なのですか？6人ではなく。
おお、お師匠様ではないか。どこへ行っていたやら心配したのだぞ。ゲームはもう第一の番を迎えて、ご覧の通り最初の犠牲者が出ておるわ。さあいよいよだ。ワクワクしてきたぞ。
そうですか。ここのあなたは元気そうですね。何よりです。
ん？わらわは元気と魅惑のボディ。あと気立ての良さくらいしか取り柄がないぞ。
For some reason, Virgilia praised Beato for being in high spirits. Though Beato was taken aback by such granny-like words coming out of Virgilia's mouth all of a sudden, she pounded her chest and answered. I mean, we all know what she meant by that. Virgilia had been absent often during this game. She might even have been absent when battlers solved the epitaph, as well as during the uproar that followed. Apparently, she had been absent for so many critical points that she didn't really understand much about what had happened so far in this game.
今のところ出ている死体は5人。見ての通り、首をすっぱりよ。
George, Jessica, Maria, Rosa, Genji. All 5 of them had their necks sliced open by something sharp. The wound opened wider than their mouths, and made it feel as though they'd no longer need their mouths to breathe.
なるほど。ジョージ、ジェシカ、マリア、ローザ、ゲンジの死体は誰が見ても一目で死亡が確認できると。
赤か。まあお師匠様にケチっても始まらぬ。そうとも。死んだふりなど絶対にありえぬ。誰もが一目で死亡を確認できる死体であるわ。
Okay, but there's no confirmation that these people are specifically who we think they are. We just know that they're dead, right? I'm trying to look for like what is being left out of some of these red truths.
なぜリーアは赤を？
さて、しかし常にお嬢様のことを思われている方です。
Might be a hint to us, you know?
お嬢様に利する何らかのお考えがあってのことでしょう。
But they'd hid the corpses here specifically so that no one would be able to use the red. However, Renove was right. Virgilia always thought of Beatrice first. A slightly displeased expression rose to Gap's face as she saw that the corpses that she had gone to such lengths to hide had now been confirmed dead in red. However, in the end, she remembered that she was only a guest and shrugged.
なぜガープに死体を隠させたのですか？
今回のわらわのゲームはすでに碑文が解かれているため普段とは変わっておる。今は夏日に仕え、夏日を守ることを目的にしているのだ。
彼らの死体を隠蔽することがどう夏日を守るのです？
向こうの手はだいたい読めてるの。
Kinda.
多分これは夏日を追い詰めるための罠。おそらく第一の番のアリバイを突き詰めていくと、夏日以外の全員にアリバイが現れるのよ。
夏日様は昨べは最初に親族会議を抜けられ、その後はお部屋で一人でお休みでした。お気の毒なことに朝までアリバイが全くありません。
金蔵の存在はすでに否定不能とした。しかし一つだけ、それを打ち破る手が敵に残されている。
なるほど。夏日を追い詰め、金蔵は存在しないと自白させるわけですね。
敵の狙いはおそらくそんなあたりよ。親族会議をめぐる駒たちの動きから、わらわたちはいち早く夏日の孤立を察知し、その罠に気づき、こうして手を打ったのだ。
死体が消える。全員にアリバイがあり、運搬者は存在しない。魔女の存在を主張しつつ、同時に死亡説自体にも疑問を投じることで、
But it would clear up Nazi.
夏日をギリギリ容疑者から逃すことができるわけ。
つまり夏日様は実は死んだふりだったと主張することが可能ということですな。
いとこ部屋で大勢がその死を確実に確認しているにもかかわらずですか？
確認など赤き真実に到底及ばぬ。彼らがいくら確かな死亡を見たと主張しようとも、人間界に赤き真実は存在しない。死体が存在しない以上、見間違い、トリック、もしくは彼らが全員嘘をついているなどで、いくらでも延々と言い逃れが可能なのだ。
赤き真実なき人間界においては、パーペチュアルチェックは最も有効な一手。
延々と相手を否定し合っての水かけ論、千日手、美しくないわ。
ですが、しかし美しさとは勝利の先に望むもの。勝利を得ぬ者が欲すれば毒にしかなりません。
勝てば官軍というでな。私にとっては美しくなくても、後悔者の魔女たちはそれを退屈しないと呼んで好むのかしらね。
なるほど、今回のゲームの流れを把握しました。随分といやらしいものになりそうですね。
Oh yeah.
百も承知よ。そして私たちはすでに夏日がこれからさらなる罠に誘い込まれるだろうことを知っている。
罠？
ラムダデルタ教が生み出す19年前の男を名乗る何者かが
Yeah, now that I'm
すでにナチ
thinking,
を脅迫している。
now that I'm thinking about it, he did actually have some pretty strict instructions. What is it, like 1 o'clock? Wait, what time is it now? Oh, we're approaching 1 o'clock. Didn't he say, hey, go hide in a closet? So I think that's what we're coming up to on this chapter.
もうじきの午後1時に
Yeah, there we
とある
go.
客室のクローゼットの中に入り、息を潜めよと命じているのだ。
And not to mention anything about the calls, not to mention Kraus or
ク
whatever.
ラウスを人質に取られ、夏日は逆らえん。
なるほど、必要ですね。かばいきれますか？
無論よ。何しろ夏日は犯人ではないのだからな。いくら犯人扱いしようとも、真実も幻想も我らに味方する。負ける道理などないわ。
Oh, things are about to get real interesting, I think, in this one. I think, oh, wow. Why are we throwing stuff? Natsuhi threw her cup of tea to the ground in protest, expressing the anger that flowed throughout her entire body.
それはどういう意味ですか？私が疑わしいというのですか？
Oh, wait, have we fully caught up now?
先に抜けられて自室に戻り、朝まで部屋を出なかったというお話は賜りました。
I think we're fully caught up with where we started in this game, or where we jumped into with Battler, because, we came in, we didn't even know who Erica was, and she's like, I choose you.
しかし、それを証明していただかないとアリバイにはならないと申し上げてるのです。
証明？どうやって？
どうやってでも結構です。客観的にあなたには犯行が不可能だったと証明してもらえれば結構なのです。他の皆さんは協力してくださっています。夏日さんもそう邪険にされず、どうかアリバイとその証拠を示してもらいたいと思いまして。
そうよ、夏日姉さんには丸一晩の空白時間があるのよ。先に休むと言って会議を抜け、ゲストハウスへ行き、ジョージたちを襲ったかもしれない。
バカなことを言わないでください。どうして私がジョージ君を、そして何より自分の娘を殺さなくてはならないというのですか？
落ち着いて。私たちは等しく疑われてるわ。悲しいけど潔白の証明は各々がしなくてはならない。
The thing is that I think it's actually truly fair to suspect Natsuhi throughout this entire episode, because we really don't know what is going on with her. I mean, there have been occasions where she's supposedly talking with Beatrice and others, but we know that's not happening. That's 100% not happening at all. Who's to say the phone calls that she's been getting aren't actually happening, and that she's actually being threatened by somebody? There's gotta be more going on than what we're truly witnessing here.
俺たちだって疑いを晴らそうと必死に昨夜のアリバイ立証に頭を悩ませてるんだぜ。
夏日さんかて疑われて面白いはずもあらへん。 悔しいと思うなら自分の潔白を証明する何かを探すのが先決とちゃうか？
The relatives spoke as though they were all under equal suspicion, but the mood about the place didn't feel so peaceful. Erika was still in the middle of confirming all of the facts. But except for Natsuhi, who was uncooperative when it came to proving alibis, everyone else had an alibi that was reasonably credible. Only Natsuhi, who claimed that even being suspected was an insult, was uncooperative with Erika, and her position began to grow more and more perilous. This parlor was no longer a place of comfort for Natsuhi, and the sound of the cup smashing had made that decisive. You know, I think we need to talk with Goda, honestly. You know, not that he's been acting weird or anything, but he was in the guest house. He did kill some people, maybe. He had the capability to do so, you know? Maybe he did even more fucked up things and, you know... Actually, you know what? No, he couldn't have cooked with them because all of them were there. Somebody just sliced open necks, so... No, he's not cooking with people.
私が昨夜一人で先に休んだからと犯人と決めつけようとする悪意。こんな屈辱にはこれ以上耐えられません。
へえ、耐えられなきゃどうするの？あなたの無実を証明するアリバイを何か示してみせなさいよ。そんなものないくせにジョージを返してこの人殺し。
Wow.
予算買えば夏希さん、あんたも少し疲れてるんや。もちろんそれはわしらもや。
You know, tired, stressed, very much concerned and scared.
少し楽にせんか。
だな。俺たちは少し気を張りすぎだ。
夏希おばさん、どこ行くんだよ。
アリバイ探しも犯人探しも実に滑稽です。
Of course, you're gonna go off on your own.
台風が過ぎ警察が来れば全てが白日の下にさらされるのです。私たちが探偵ごっこをする理由など何もない。違いますか、エリカさん。
一般論的にはそうですね。ですが私にはそれをする権限がありますので。
Who gave her that authority? No one asked. It was an authority given by words of power from a higher world, so the pieces weren't even allowed to doubt it.
私は退出します。警察が来るまで皆さんのくだらない問答にも付き合うつもりはありません。私を疑うならどうぞご自由に。それを疑い晴らすことも私は警察に委ねますので。
She's just gonna go hide in the closet. But here's the thing. Wouldn't hiding in the closet even make her much more suspicious? If she doesn't die here in this one, then that's really going to add suspicion onto her. It may be a bit late to mention this, but then again, I guess this happens every time anyway. As usual, the phone could not connect to the police. Natsuhi said the police would be coming, but that wasn't exactly true. Strictly speaking, the boat would come tomorrow, and they would use the radio on that boat to contact the police. Well, it's not like I'll let everyone live that long anyway. Okay, that was Lambda Delta speaking there. Yeah, take this sword.
いいじゃない。それも立派な証明かもよ。これで夏日姉さんが自室で殺されてたりしたら、それも立派な無実の証明だわ。
That's pretty fucked, but she's got a point.
よせよ姉貴。夏日さんも俺たちも少し一服した方がいいだろうよ。明日まで体が持たねえぜ。
一服はしても油断はせず、ね。明日どころか今夜も越せないかもしれないわ。
夏日おばさん、部屋へ帰るならしっかり施錠して。Yeah, that doesn't stop people, as we have seen in multiple instances, especially episode 2 and episode 1. That was the second Twilight, actually.
誰にも犠牲になってほしくない。ありがとう、バトラ君。では、私は部屋に戻ります。
I can tell that Battler's just trying to be... It's the same as he was in episode 1. He doesn't want to suspect any of his family members or servants. Goda's in charge? Ah, shit.
せめてこのような状況ではあっても、ご不自由をおかけしないように。
はい、奥様、心得ております。
This is your time to shine, Goda. You got this. With everyone watching her, Natsuhi left the parlor. From their faces, she could tell that they were expecting the classic mystery pattern. That the first person to quarrel and leave the circle would become the next victim. Natsuhi couldn't disobey because of the threat against Kraus, who had been taken hostage. Very soon, it would be that promised time, 1 p.m. She was to hide for an hour in the closet of a specific guest room. It was easy to suspect that this bizarre order was a trap to select her as the next sacrifice. She thought of various ways to resist, but all methods would be useless against a culprit who had a hostage and was observing her from close by. So Natsuhi could do nothing but obediently follow that order, and then claim that she'd been forced to do this for her husband's safety. Until she gets more orders, that is. When the promised time had drawn near, Natsuhi had intentionally acted annoyed and smashed the cup on the ground to give her an excuse for slipping out of the parlor. Okay, maybe that was just an out-of-nowhere thing then. At any rate, no matter how cowardly a trap it may be, I can't disobey now. I am now the one who carries the burden of the one-winged eagle. Now that my husband Kraus had been captured, I must protect it even if I have to crawl through the mud. Of course, I'm prepared to do so. I am Ushiromiya Natsuhi. Even if I am not permitted to bear the one-winged eagle on my clothes, well, Father gave me permission to bear it in my heart. Did he, though? Did he really? I've managed to get this far by plausibly dashing away in a rage. So far, everything has gone well. Before my eyes was the doorknob of the specified guest room. However, I wonder if it's locked. The servants are normally ordered to lock any unused rooms. What will I do if it's locked? Just open it. Don't worry about what ifs, just go. I had dashed away from the others, pretending I was returning to my room. Popping back and asking a servant to unlock this guest room would be obviously suspicious. If I can, I'd like to get this eerie hide-and-seek over with without anyone noticing. In that phone call from the one who claimed to be the man from 19 years ago, he said I would win if no one found out, but lose if anyone did find out. He said my husband would be released whether I won or lost. But as a person with a hostage taken against me, I'd rather not lose. I don't like it at all, but I have to go along with this game. When I softly gripped the doorknob, I could feel that it was unlocked. Did Shanun or Kumasawa forget to lock it after cleaning? Or did that man unlock it in advance? That man couldn't be waiting for me in this room, could he? And then he'll just open the fucking door. All that about hide and seek might have been a mere excuse. I kept the fact that I was coming here secret, and all the others think I'm resting in my room. If I were to be killed in this situation, it might create a new baffling murder case, like an extension of the one that occurred this morning. The thing is, now that we know the deal about Kinzo and the fact that people are covering up for the fact that he actually isn't even alive right now, what else could people be hiding that could have completely twisted, the story of how we were perceiving it from Battler's end, or anybody else's end? Natsuhi had some experience with using a naginata, though only casually. Unlike Ava, she couldn't brag about being able to hold off any single ruffian indefinitely. As she was now, she had no realistic chance of challenging a man with malicious intent and winning. Anybody home? She readied herself and slowly opened the door. She couldn't just stand around in the corridor and risk being seen by someone. Yeah, at that point it would be over. The atmosphere inside the guest room was frigid, and she could sense no trace of anyone waiting impatiently for her. All she could hear were the unsettling sounds of the wind and rain. At first, this seemed to prove that there was no one here to threaten her, but soon, it only made an uneasy feeling rise up inside her even more strongly than before. The closet was just off to the side of anyone entering the room. Lined up inside it was a set of hangers for coats, And this closet, which had nothing hanging in it, was large enough for even an adult to hide in. She softly opened the closet. Of course, there was nothing inside. She would have to hide quietly in here for an hour. The room had a wooden floor, but something like a carpet had been laid in the closet. It seemed sitting down would not be a problem. She had been sure someone would be waiting for her in this room, or that a strange letter would be lying in the closet. In the worst case, she had even imagined that her husband's corpse might be inside there. However, none of these things she imagined turned out to be true. The only thing there was a cold guest room, and a lifeless closet that silently urged her to enter. Yeah, how is she keeping track of the time? Like, is there a clock that she can, keep tabs on? I mean, we could hear the ticking of one, but that might just be like an ambient sound. I would assume the ambient sound playing here means that there's a clock of some sort. Natsuhi shrugged, turned around, and then locked and chained the guest room door. Was she ordered to do this? I mean, if she wasn't given an order of anything like that, then I guess she's, safe to do anything additional. I guess that's fair. And this surely must be a total victory in the hide-and-seek game against the mystery man. However, it was such an easy victory it made her feel uneasy. Yeah, because what's going to happen during this hour? Normally, this would be against the rules of hide-and-seek. Even if she had won, wouldn't this displease the culprit? And now, everyone thought that she had returned to her room. If they found a room with a chain set, well, that would make it an impossible closed room to them. Erika had dashed throughout the mansion to confirm alibis or something. If she noticed that the chain was set on this room, there would probably be an uproar that would end in them cutting the chain and searching the room. If that happened, Natsuhi would be found hiding in the closet right away. But why would anyone need to look for her right now? She's got an hour to kill that should be okay. It would be easy to honestly confess as to why she had been hiding. However, that man had insisted that she not reveal that. If she did talk, she might endanger her husband. Thinking of it that way, setting the chain, no, even the lock might be a bad idea. That's right. This room was unlocked when I came here. If it were to suddenly become locked, it's conceivable that it might catch someone's attention. It's better if I don't do anything unnecessary. That man only told me to hide. But that also means that you could, You could lock it. There should be no trouble there. I hate doing it, but I can't disobey. I undid those two precious locks, went into the dimly lit closet filled with the smell of old wood, and managed to close the door from the inside. Well, this ought to be a fun hour. Pitch black. It reminded me of when I was young, when I used to hide somewhere and then surprise my mother. But that peaceful recollection wasn't enough to kill off my anxiety. It really is pitch black. From here, I won't be able to check my watch to see if an hour has passed. I'll probably need to open the door a crack every once in a while to let in enough light for my watch. For now, I'll crouch down here. I thought about clutching my knees, but it hurt my back when I tried. Oh, great. That's what I get to look forward to in my future? I'm not as young as I used to be. Even though I was made to sit on the floor holding my knees in every PE class as a grade schooler, I now have to struggle just to sit down. Just crouching down here for an hour will probably hurt a lot. I mean, if I were her, I would just take a fucking nap. But also, is she really, is she really in a closet, It's hard to say. It really is. All right, we'll wrap it up on that one. We'll rejoin Natsuhi in the closet in the next video. This was a fun one, wasn't it? Just more battles of the wits, more battles between the blue and the red, and watching Erika kind of fall apart here. But either way, good time. Thank you all for tuning in. If you guys enjoyed this one, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, all that fancy jazz, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take it easy.